Lucky Boys Podcast.
How did you get from there being a voting member of the Academy?
Well, a couple of things happened in the past 5, 6, 7 years. We've all, I think we've heard of that whole controversy a few years ago about the Oscars being so white and so forth.
Oh yeah, Oscar so white hashtag.
Since then, the Academy has made a concerted effort to bring more people of color in. And it was probably because of that it opened up to me.
That opportunity became available. So you do agree that at that point in time prior to the hashtag Oscar so white, was it so white?
I think so. I mean, so much of what we see is the impression we get of life, and that's the impression I certainly got.
Now, so that's how you got in, and what is that like since? Are you able to give a lot of your ideas and contribute, or?
Well, again, that's a very interesting thing to think about. I did not have any illusions about becoming a member and then shaking up the industry. I think the valuable thing that I got out of it is that I have a small seat at this big table, and I have one vote for the yearly Academy Awards in its various categories. And my vote is the same as other people. So that's the value of that. I have an equal vote.
And how many seats, I guess, are in the Academy Awards for voting? The voting
the membership,
committee.
From what I understand, worldwide is about 10,000 people. That sounds like a lot of people, but there are in the annual Academy Awards, there are 23 categories. So if you just do the math and you take 10,000 people, divide by 23, it'll be several hundred people in each category. And certain categories will have a lot more people.
Will be denser, I guess.
Yeah, so that's kind of how it works.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So because you're in that field of production design, are you only allowed to vote for that category, or you're allowed to vote for Best Picture, Best Director?
Okay, I've always wondered how the voting process worked prior to becoming a member, because we all watched Oscar night, and we all see the results, and they always say, and the Academy, blah, 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 says. I always wondered what the process was like. So here's what it is like. Every year, if you can imagine, there will be dozens, if not hundreds, of submissions of films from around the world in various categories for whatever the reasons are. And so in the first round of voting, which starts months before the Academy Awards, and let's say, for example, in the first round of voting, I am only allowed to vote in my own branch, which is the production design branch. Costume designers can only vote in that branch. Producers can only vote in that branch. Directors and screenwriters, and so forth can only vote in that particular branch. But we are also allowed to vote everyone is allowed to vote for Best Picture. And we are also given the choice to vote for Best Foreign Film, when that category was still called that. We're also allowed to vote for Best Animated Feature, and Best Shorts Subject Film, Best Documentary, that's beyond our branch.
Wow, those are major categories.
Yeah. So I feel very excited about that, because they're major categories. And so if you want to vote for, let's say, Best Animated Feature, you're supposed to view all the submissions, which can be quite few.
Time consuming.
Yeah.
But that's exciting. You get to watch all these amazing films.
Yes, and if you love cinema and you like watching the movies, like many of us do,
especially if they're nominated. I mean, because then you're looking at
the best,
the collection of the best of the best.
Yeah. and that's how it works.
People would kill for that.
I would.
Yeah,
I
you
want
would
to take
kill-
it.
you would kill for
I want
that,
to take it
yeah.
to the show.
But again, the way it works after that first round where everybody votes for their own particular branch and Best Picture and if you want to vote for, let's say, Best Animated Feature, you have to watch those films because it would be absurd to vote for something you haven't seen.
Right. Do you forfeit your vote if you don't?
No, you don't. The way it works, as you get onto the later stages of voting, where it seems like all the choices are weeded down every week. You're given a certain number of days to vote, and it goes on to the next stage, and then they'll say, okay, now that the production design category is weeded down to the last 30 films, then that gets weeded down some more. And what I discovered that I didn't know about was that in the last week of voting prior to the Academy Awards, everybody is then allowed to vote for everything because at that point, the categories are weeded down to Best Picture, which is 8 films, and every film in different categories, whether it's Best Makeup, Best Design, Best Screenplay, is weeded down to 5 films already at that point.
Wow.
And this is the last week of voting, and every member is then allowed to vote on everything. And if you haven't seen any particular picture, you can vote to abstain from voting for that picture.
I see.
And the voting somehow is arranged in a weighted concept where you're given if the choices is 8 choices for Best Picture, you vote. You rank the pictures. In other words, there
I see.
is
Like a first place, second
Yes,
place,
yeah,
third
rank
place,
voting
right.
system.
and it was fascinating because I think somehow they developed a system over the years where all the pictures somehow get people to vote. It's important to get the people to vote, and there's a big campaign to remind people to vote because you can always only get a true picture of what the quality of the films are when everybody votes.
Sure. That makes a lot of sense. And so what they do, they take the sum of the rankings, and whichever ranks, I guess, scores higher, that is how they produce the winner.
I could imagine so, because I imagine, again, with any mass thing that you throw out to people, there will be some people who didn't see most of the films. There will be some people who've seen all the films.
Or there may be some internal bias.
Right,
Right.
exactly. And I discovered personally that I would have certain reasons for voting on certain things. And it's not necessarily because I think it's the best thing out there. Although I will say, by the time all the films get weeded down to the last 8 films for Best Picture and the last 5 films in every category, they're all pretty good films, I have to say. They're solid films, great acting, film craft-wise, top of the list. When you get weeded down to the last week, they're all good.